recording. Hi, Sachin.
Hey, Dinker.
So, Sachin, I think one of the topics that we alluded to in the previous podcast was life metrics, kind of follow up to life stack. But before we go there, just a quick recap. So, congrats. This is our seventh podcast, and
Yes.
people in the know are telling me that if you make it past 5 or 6, then there is a chance that you will last longer, because a lot of people start something and by first, second, third, and suddenly they fizzle out. So I think congrats on making this far. Um,
To both of us. I mean, and I agree to you, Dinker. It is not going to be easy to find topics which we want to talk about, but we have always found some topics which is great, and hopefully we are able to maintain the interesting conversations around. So yeah, let's keep it on.
Yeah, and we have 12 subscribers. That's 10 more than just you and me.
Yeah.
And we've got around 180 views till date, so that's not bad.
That's not bad, considering that it is a 1 hour show.
Yeah, 1 hour, and lot of marketing guides will tell you keep the topic focused so that people know what to expect, uh, and you attract a certain crowd who are interested in those conversations. But the breadth of what we cover is quite a lot, and let's see where it goes.
Yeah.
So coming to life metrics. What I wanted to do was Sachin, maybe we can alternate. You'll mention one, then I'll mention one. Some of the metrics with which we measure our own lives, and would love to hear some background about it. Whatever is okay to publish on a podcast.
Yes. And Dinker, I have been thinking about it. And when it comes to life metrics, let's come to a baseline, which we agree. So, to me, what life metrics are are not necessarily in work-related situations or professional situations. How do you measure that you are actually succeeding or not, or you are doing the right things or not? What is the measure of success for your things? And I can give you a few examples, situations which are common across the board. And the first thing comes to my mind is everybody starts new year resolutions with number of books to read, and I think that is a good way of output versus outcomes. I mean, yes, I am actually talking about reading 20 books this year, but what are these 20 books? Are these comics? Are these professional? Are these fictions, non-fictions? Does it have to be 20? What do I get by 20? Or is it just a number which actually is pleasant to hear that I have accomplished?
Is it hexadecimal 20? Is it decimal 20?
Correct. And I think that is where you and I, by virtue of spending so many hours thinking about metrics in our professional life, we have realized that the fallacy of this method is, and by the way, I am victim of that. I have done this crime every year. And last year, my goal was 2,000 kilometers of cycling. And the problem with that goal, and I think the Atomic Habit book talks about it very well, is do not set a goal which is numerical or like measurable thing, because the problem happens is, but their philosophy is different. Their philosophy is not throughput. Their philosophy is what you will be motivated through that phase where you do this 2,000 kilometer cycling, and after that you have this feeling that emptiness is like, okay, what to do next?
now
And
what?
I think they are coming from that angle. But to me, and they have given a very good strategy, and we don't need to talk about what is the right way of goal setting, but we need to talk about how to measure output and outcomes. These are classic metrics of output, like 20 books per year. But I think the outcomes would be depending upon what people would like to attribute. And we can come to that. We don't need to talk about it. I have a couple of ideas around it. The second thing which I thought about is these life metric to me fall into three buckets. One is basically ongoing. They don't have a specific timeline. And example would be is I would like to achieve financial independence. Now, what does that financial? And the unfortunate part about financial independence, I have realized is that financial independence, this is a moving goalpost for me. So, so when I was at
when you were a bachelor, it was something else. When you were married, something else with kids, and
yeah, and also my aspirations are growing. Right? Is like I would like to maintain more things. I'm not.
First you were happy with Atlas cycle, and now you need something more fancier.
You're right, and that is, that is like ongoing type of thing. And but you need to have specific checkpoints to see whether you are actually going in the right direction. Are you being successful? These are type of metrics tricky. We need to talk about them. Second ones are like time bound, quarterly, 6 months, year. Typically, year is in life span of life. Year is a good measure. Is like when I look back at last year, I achieved something. I had an injury, but I achieved something which was remarkable. I was very proud of myself. This year, it has been really bad, but I think I'll recover from this. But actually, these annual goals and third ones are micro ones, like daily. What do I want? Because that is also another problem is that uh, I did this. That two years ago, my goal was certain number of hours I wanted to actually do work, and this was actually my productive time, or sometimes we used to call like core pay working hours or something like that. And that I started realizing the fallacy of it. But we can talk. So I just wanted to set the stage that these are the three areas which I would like to touch upon. But yeah, over to you. I mean, like, what do you think? Where do you think?
It's very interesting. This is not something we have discussed before, but the outcome is based thinking is really coming through. And I don't know, is this kind of our work life affecting our real life, or is it the real life which is making us think the right thing in the work life? But I have always been worried about these numerical metrics, and you can cheat, right? You say 20, yeah, you know what, 2 plus 0 is 2 anyway, so 2 books are good enough, right? You can come across n number of arguments people have around numbers. And at some point, I kind of fell in love with this second order effect, right? So what you do has consequences, and those consequences have consequences. And so if I choose something as a goal, once I achieve that goal, it will lead to certain more goals, right? So my way of looking at life goals has been what second order effect it creates, or what's sort of second order benefit it brings to me, someone else. That depends upon the metric. So what this second order does is that first it keeps me 1 degree away from the fruits of my hard work, right? So I don't just chase a goal. It doesn't become chasing goal like I'll do 2,000 kilometers and all that, right? You have an eye on what if, so what, what after that, right? So the second order kind of gives you 1 degree, and then it becomes very difficult to game things. It becomes very difficult to, right? So the second order thinking has really helped me. Very similar to how you're thinking. So let's start. So maybe you can start. Do you want to? So what I was thinking is, I have around, I have noted down 4 such goals for me. And maybe you can start and then we'll alternate.
Yeah, let's start. So, Dinker, about reading habits.
Hmm.
So let's talk about like how I will change I change my goal from number of books per year to something else. So I'll talk about it. And the evidence was actually in this 2,000 kilometer cycling. Last year I ended up doing close to 7,500 kilometer cycling. But what I realized is that uh, this measurement of number of kilometers per year was actually not a good idea.
Hmm.
Rather, if you start doing something and you start liking it, you will do it more.
Yeah.
And in fact, my graph of cycling was literally like sharp. In the beginning month, it was about 250 to 300 kilometer a month. And then towards the end, it was around 700, 800 kilometers a month. The reason why it was happening is because I developed capacity, but second was I was enjoying it really well. So if there is something which is actually an enjoyable activity for you, then you will do it more. And that's why this year I wrote on LinkedIn as well, is that stop thinking about reading books about how to change your life. Like
Hmm.
self-help books are the worst enemy of your life.
Yeah.
So read the books which for the enjoyment of reading books. Pick up any book. Right from comics to basically anything. And that what that did for me is, Dinker, it developed my muscle to sit down and read the old-fashioned book
Hmm.
rather than consuming fast-paced bits and paste information from various articles. I mean, I have realized that I'm not illiterate. I still consume information at staggering speed. The only problem is that I do not have a linear ability to linearly consume information
Hmm.
in the form of a book.
Hmm.
I can consume random information very fast, but when you are reading a book, it's that you are chapter by chapter by chapter you are moving. And in fact, I read your book zigzag.
Yeah.
I did not read your book linearly. Fortunately, your book allowed that.
Hmm.
If this book would have been like, okay, you read chapter 1, after that chapter 2, after that chapter 3, I'm pretty sure that it will be somewhere around 60-70% mark, and I would be still trying to finish it.
Yeah.
So that's one thing which I found out, is that find the activity which you would like to do, and then I created a habit formation app, like an entry onto. I use Streak, but there are hundreds of apps today available. In fact, if you are not into apps, you can actually use your bullet journal
Yeah.
and create a habit tracker widget there. But what I found is, Dinkar, it is extremely useful. And I started doing 15 minutes daily reading.
Hmm.
And I also set very liberal targets for myself, because I knew that I am getting into this cold. So I said 4 times a week, 15 minutes a day.
Hmm.
That's like 1 hour a week.
Hmm.
And I knew that a lot of people actually, and in fact, myself, I spend almost 30 minutes every day just responding to emails.
Yeah.
So I know that it is not impossible. I have that bone in me which allows me to sit and read uh, plain text for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
So I said 15 minutes is a good way. And I think if you reach anywhere between 70-75% days you achieved it, I think that's a great way of saying, yes, you made it. Like, this is a good success outcome. Now, what it will happen, it depends upon what you read. And I think we should not worry about it.
Hmm.
If you build that muscle, you will end up reading things which are more interesting to you, more aligned to you. And I think things will just get better.
Interesting. So your first life metric is the you will read, not a number, but you will for a limited for at least certain amount in a day, you will read a book.
Yeah, and this is extrapolatable to my exercise. This is extrapolatable to my other activities, which can be get classified under habit per se.
Yeah.
Like something which you would like to
do. You'll develop good habits. That's very interesting. One thing you mentioned about cycling, right? As you went along, because your capacity was increasing, because your interest was there, your ability to do more kept on increasing. That is a good measure of something, that you can call I'm interested in or passionate about. That if over a period of time, if the time spent on it keeps on regularly increasing, and maybe that is one measure for someone to, go deeper into something. Don't start with a lot. You want to go deep into world of AR, VR, just 10 minutes a day, just 1 minute a day, but try to increase it, try to increase it, try to increase it. And if you're able to do that, that means it is of something of interest to you and you're doing more. If you're not able to, pivot to something else. I'm always a little bit worried about reading the wrong book. When I say wrong book, a book that does not bring anything to me. There used to be a bookseller, the roadside bookseller in Nehru Place in Delhi. So he used to say that, so he has so many books. So I was a student, I had gone to his shop and I said, there's so many books, how will I know which one I should read? He said, you walk around and suddenly in your bones, you will feel that there is a book around here and I should pick it and I read it. I said, okay, I mean, this guy is a bookseller. I mean, okay.
Very spiritual.
Yeah, so sure. So started walking around and, randomly my eye would fall on some book. So what he essentially did was he forced me to cover the whole, in Nehru Place, there is a whole central area around which there are offices and he had a large area. He actually indirectly made me walk through the whole thing, all of his stacks. And randomly I used to fall on something, I used to pick it and, because otherwise what would have happened, I would have just, glanced around the books which are up front or the ones that he has highlighted and I'll move on. But this theory of his made me walk around it, which was a very interesting. So what I do is, Sachin, when I buy a book or I get a book, I actually first just quickly flip through it. I just flip through it. If I feel there is something happening, then I'll again go, and if it's a professional book or illustrated book, I'll just look at the illustrations. If again something interesting comes of illustrations and index, if I start liking there, then I'll start reading it, because I have this thing that I may spend precious 8 hours of my life reading something which wasn't worth the 8 hours. So I have that thing. That's the MVP style. I first go about it, this approach. But I'll do my first metric. So first is a lot of us love traveling. I like to go to places, but my metric of a successful travel habit, life lived well, is second order discovery. So because of our office work, sometimes we get lucky. Because of our work, we get to travel to different places. But what I feel is very important for me is when I reach there, when I have traveled to that city or that place, from there, what new places do I discover? What new places I travel to? How I look for those places? How I choose those places? How do I manage my time? How do I manage the resources, money to go? So one thing that's very important for me is this second order discovery of places. I've been to so many beautiful places, so many interesting places, so many small places, like they're not that well known and all, after you visit some major location. So for me, currently that number tends to be around 3 or 4. But that's very important for me, that if I've not been able to do second order discovery, then that trip has failed.
That sounds fair.
Over to
And
you.
I think the another yes, and in terms of travel, to me, I like traveling, and I think it is number of days again. I'm going to fall back to traditional because of the amount of time which we can spare coordinating with you, wife, and kids, and everything. But I make sure that every 6 months I take a break of at least a week or two to just refresh myself. But no such agenda as such. Um, Coming back to our life metric, I spoke about three categories for me. One is ongoing. I spoke about one annual goal, but in
Hmm.
annual goal you will have multiple. But let's talk about something which is a bigger one, which is ongoing metric, right? A few ongoing metrics for me would be is something which does not have an end date.
Hmm.
I spoke about financial independence, or there could be something like maintaining your weight or fitness or whatever that is. The third would be is that you are just more diligent about certain activities in your life. Example is that um, uh, you wanted to basically spend more time today. It is unfortunate, it is an anti-pattern that you need to decide that this is my goal to spend time with my kid, but unfortunate reality is that you have to plan for everything nowadays. So let's talk about financial because that would be very relevant to a lot of people. The way I have seen is we no matter whether, and this has been my habit since I came out of college, when I used to earn practically very low amount of salary, and at that time I used to do budget, and I was completely engineering major, so electronics, no idea about commerce and everything. But my uncle was a professor of commerce, so
Oh,
I learned the double
double
entry
counting,
account, yeah, double entry accounting system,
not double
where yeah, not double counting, double entry. So
counting.
you basically have income and expense, and then you try to match all the things. And I started doing that personally on just a pen and paper. And I used to put all the sources of income. Typically, it would be salary or interest or some fixed deposit which is getting matured or whatever, right? And then you will just start putting expense. But then that continued, and every year at the beginning I used to create an annual plan in terms of like what I'm spending right now, what are my needs, and how much is excess available today. Then later on I changed it. But what I have found is, I'll not go into detail, but because this is not financial planning, but what I have found is that you planning for your finances, and then later on I subscribe to the theory that don't worry about how much you need to retire. What you do is that you decide your saving goals, be very aggressive about them, and just like whatever is remaining is your money which you can actually spend. That's your expense. So I started doing that, and that's how I have been living for almost now a decade for sure. And it has been I would say only time will tell whether it is a successful endeavor or not, but seems like so far it is going well. What I would advise is that these type of things, the outcome actually is that you need to create a trajectory. And today, luckily, there are automated tools available. Earlier, at least, you need to study a lot, but you can see whether you are actually on the curve which is supposed to be there. And sometimes it could be just gut feel. I mean, there is no fitness curve, right? And there are going to be ups and downs. There are going to be dips. There are going to be frivolous expenditures. But I think the success metric would be is that you need to know you that you are doing okay. I would say that the word metrics or life metric would mean that there is some number associated with it. But I would refrain from applying that philosophy to everything. For example, you're that second order
Right.
discoveries. You did not say that I need to do at least two second order discoveries every place I visit. You
Right.
were saying if I felt good after coming back, that's a success.
Yeah.
If that place called you back one more time and you wanted to go there so desperately, I think that's a great success.
Yes.
So I think that's how I have started looking at these ongoing metrics. Is that figure out where you want to be, create a very like very vague trajectory and then start seeing whether you are actually on the path or not?
Actually, for me, this goal, no idea. Luckily, I'm married to someone who's really good at this, and this is her world, and she's responsible for me. So I get to just, relax and know that someone very competent and smart is taking care of this aspect. So I just focus on my, reading, writing, podcasting, and working. So I'm very lucky that way. But I do want to refer to my, the second one is what I call like second order unlocking. So this is what I mean by that, right? My family is very large, mom side, dad side. The people I interact with is a large circle, right? At different points in life, you help someone. Sometimes you give someone professional advice, someone you give someone personal advice, someone many times you do give financial support, all those kind of things, right? So how do I know that what I have done for communities is good enough, right? And there again, this second order thinking kind of helps me. I just don't get it, to be honest, and a lot of people will disagree with me in giving help to the organizations, professional organization who further help a lot of people. I'm not, I honestly don't get that. I mean, I understand it, but I don't get it in my bones that, you're kind of outsourcing your responsibility to some other organization and saying that, okay, take my money or take this and do, So, but then how do you do that? So if I help someone and that person is, gets the benefit of my help, what things get unlocked in their lives, right? So for example, if I help someone financially, hey, I need some money. Okay, here's some money. What happens with that money? Do the kids go to school? Do they start a new business? Are they able to do something which helps them do things beyond their own self, right? So again, in this, if I give advice to someone, like a lot of people ask about career advice, what kind of questions will I ask that person? What kind of answers will I give? What kind of career advice will I tell everyone become a product manager? Will tell everyone become an engineer, go into IT, or get a job? But what kind of advice will I give them that will create a second order unlocking effect, that once they do that, people they are in touch with will also benefit? So this kind of really helps me, do a little bit of networking effect. So whenever, I try to be useful to my family and to anyone else, the thing that drives me is that what I do for them should create some second order unlocking. So that's the other one which I am very closely thinking about and watching.
Fantastic. I think that's a very good point you brought. It is abstract. It is also something which is a continuous basis. There is no goal that you need to help. So I want to change life of 5 people, but this is something which
You're running
you.
around. Please, can I help you here? I've reached till 4. Please, I
Yeah.
need to help you.
But I think you said it very well. Um, Now I would like to come to a tactical goal. So I had only 3 categories and one goal representing each category.
Yeah.
So I talked about like time-bound goals like annual, like continuous goals like annual, sorry, ongoing ones. But what I feel is the third one for me, and here we can actually delve a little bit more time because this is very similar to what life stack is that how do I measure my daily daily outcome. What is my success metric of a day? That I had a good day, and I can tell you that there were days when and I felt that today was a good productive day, and there were some days when I am just fatigued to my bones that I can't. I do not know why, but I'm continuously working, but nothing is getting over. And I had those days too. But then that actually is a perspective what we need to develop. And how do you get over that type of feeling? And this is particularly relevant today because what I have seen is that um, workplaces used to solve this problem to a great extent for our parents. They used to go to office or some place, a shop, and they used to come home and they used to just like sit and spend time with their family or read a newspaper or do whatever, right? There were not 20 things to do at home. But today, if you think about us, we we have a million things to do, and it is just a constant pressure of whether I'm doing the right thing or not. In fact, just like you said, that am I reading the right book or not? Um, I mean, the amount of time I spent personally on watching random TV shows repeats. I was actually cringing when you were saying that because it's a wastage of time, clearly, but it actually sometimes gives me relaxation or distraction or whatever, right? Different times and different needs. But what I have found is that we need to, everybody today, if they are working from home or hybrid, this being able to unplug is very important. And Dinker, people immediately associated plugging and unplugging as an activity which is physical. And this is very similar to number of working hours. Like I would like to read number of books. They are thinking plug, unplug in number of working hours.
Bring back boredom.
Yes, boredom is good. Boredom is super awesome. Science proved that. So when you are actually having, but what is mean by boredom is that you literally have nothing to do.
Yeah,
It
you're
should not be.
really bored. You're like, what is happening? I need to do something. But you force yourself to. Yeah.
Yes, and so what I started doing is Dinker, and I wanted to actually show this is it's nothing but a. Let me quickly. Uh, so I got this, which
Yeah.
is a simple, very low tech daily planner.
Yeah.
And what I started doing is I started one page every day. I put my date and I say this is what I want to do, but I do put only certain things on my plate.
Mm-hmm.
And I am completely free to pick additional work if I am in mood.
Mm-hmm.
But I say after this, everything is optional.
Mm-hmm.
And what it started doing, it there are days I would not lie, it spills over, or I am not able to go through all the list because some constant badgering from some other angles. But the fact is the days when I'm able to finish, which is slowly increasing. Earlier, 3 to 4 days, I used to just like have a spillage. But now I'm actually around 2 to 3 days. I completely finish everything what I signed up for today. And even
Maybe you're getting better at estimating also what you can finish in a day.
yeah, I'm knowing now my what is my velocity. So I'm iterating every day. I'm signing up for some stuff and I'm actually getting it done. What I realized that by doing that there are few critical things are happening in my behavior. One is that this constant pressure of things are not getting over. I'm able to address it better. And what that is bringing is level of disappointment is actually going down. It is important that we feel that we have done today's job. And I think that allows me to take my mind off on to do things different. Otherwise, what used to happen is that I am I have decided to read book now, but I'm thinking about an email which just arrived,
Mm.
or the tomorrow morning's list which I'm trying to prepare. And the reason why this happens is that you have this subconscious guilt that I haven't finished my
Yeah.
list. But unfortunately, you never created a list. And it is a long running list of million things which everybody has expected from you.
Some
So
vague
you just
memories of some task and that nagging
keep
feeling
doing that.
something is something is left. Yeah.
So what I have started, like this is what I would advise to, and obviously design your own method. But what I have decided is that tools don't matter. Find out whatever works for you, but at least have that feeling that this is my start and this is my end. And based on my experience, I would not quantify that by number of working hours.
Mhm.
If let's say you were able to finish everything in 4 hours, it's okay, great. The 4 hours which you have, let's say it's an 8 hour working day for you, sorry, you can actually spend learning a skill.
Mhm.
Today there are million avenues to learn things. You can be actually working for your company. You can be very professional about your time. You don't watch a movie in that extra time, but you can learn a skill, practice something. If there is an activity which was actually a planning activity of something which is not urgent today, but that's very strategic for you, you can actually spend that time, because those type of activities are good when you have absolutely no pressure and a clock on your mind. So I'm not saying that waste rest of the hours, but I'm saying do not be a prisoner of this whole core working hours theory.
Yeah.
Core working hours work really great when you are actually co-located and you have a physical dependency. Like Dinker is going to be present in office only 3 hours.
Yeah.
And I need to actually have that overlap with Dinker so that we can get these things done. And you can be pragmatic about it. Uh, uh, but when you are at home, you make sure that this is how you want to span your day. So that would be my daily success metric.
Uh, I do the same thing. The only difference is that I have a continuous running list. Yes, it's a long backlog, and every time I finish something, I tick off the things. I thought about this, that I will do these many things in a day. It never fully settled, and I just said, okay, why fight the reality? Let me make it continuously. But every time I finish something and I cross it off from my list, that gives me a sense of, okay, one step forward. And it's okay. Work life is full of unending list of things you're crossing off. But whenever you feel that what have I done, whenever you feel like, oh my god, I'm not doing any work, you just browse through what all you have done. That's also very interesting. And many times, like, I look at my diaries. I usually make my notes on the from first page onwards, and I start making this backlog from last page onwards. And I have diaries from very old times, and I sometimes just flip through them and see what all things I was thinking about. And oh, I accomplished all of these, I said. So at some once in a while, it kind of gives that good recap of all you have accomplished. The and on the working part, Sachin, when you were mentioning this, right? So the other metric that I want to is second order work product. Now, what I mean by this is what I'm always thinking is I have been given a task to do, and I do it. That's my work product. But actually, I'm not interested in I'm not interested in creating what I have been told, doing what I have been told. I'm interested in when I have done what I have been told, once I have created by what has been told by my boss, whosoever boss means in ThoughtWorks. In a flat organization like ThoughtWorks, someone has told me, do this, we need this, can you help with this? Or a client with whom I'm engaged, we need this, we need this. Okay, once I've done it for you, so what? What does it do for you? right? How can you use it? Can you take it further within your organization? Can you take it to someone else? Can this become something that someone else can look at and benefit from? So my work product, when I'm doing some task, I'm one thinking how I'll finish it, and I'm also thinking that uh, how should I do it? Should I record how I did it? Should I create a structure around what was done so someone can use it? So this second order work product is a very important thing for me, very important metric that everything that I do should that output should facilitate many other outputs. And that's why so many templates, so many how to's, all that that I end up always creating.
And I think that's a very valid point. And I can see that your theme was all about second order, and I think in particular work-related situations, whatever you do is, if it is linear, that there were like certain things which you were doing for a group, a project, or a customer, then it's very easy to see the impact is actually happening linearly of what you were trying to achieve. But there are many times in strategic roles, you are actually doing a lot of non-linear activities.
Right.
That they may terminate, they may branch out, they may terminate, and you will see that there is no value in it. So you will come back and then branch out and then do something else. 18, 24 months down the line, you just start forgetting what actually was the nuanced outcome of it. I think that would be, I also have good amount of notes, but I think I lacked that crystallization. And that crystallization is a funny thing, right? When the memory is very sharp, it's a recency effect, right?
Obvious, right? Why do I
Yeah.
need to make an? It's so obvious. Yeah.
And then after that, it's just start fading, and you have only these marquee things which happened there. Example is that didn't work, this didn't work, but you have lost the like fine-grained detail about what you did.
Actually, I read someone's LinkedIn post today. The people who are excellent in product strategy um, hardly note it down because it's so obvious to them. What they don't realize is that it's not obvious to others, and that's the tyranny of memories also, right? It's recent, it's so obvious, we did it, we'll remember it, but 3 weeks, 3 days, you have totally forgotten, and there's no context unless you had this second order work product. I've done something, then what I need to record about this, what meta I need to record about is the process of arriving at it, some learnings, create something repeatable out of it. Always be thinking that once it has been created, how others will use it. So tomorrow you can go to others and say, hey, how did you use it? How did you benefit from it? So I think it's very important for professionals of today, especially who are a little senior in their careers, to do this second order work product thinking.
Absolutely. And that's in a nutshell, Dinker, for me is basically I have shifted my thinking from measuring, quantifying things in terms of like goals into outcomes. And I'm trying to fit this theory about how do I measure the outcome of this particular activity which I want to do. And then sometimes it also is a good exercise for me, is like little, it makes me think, why am I even thinking that this is a goal for me? I mean, why cycling is a goal for me? Why I want to do 2000, like something like that, right? It's important reflection upon yourself. And if it is going to be fun activity, why do you care how many? Yeah, I mean, like I never said when I bought PlayStation, I need to spend this many number of hours on PlayStation to break even the cost which I have spent in it. So, and I just keep playing whenever I like.
Why do you keep playing? I have to break in the cost.
I'm like, yes. So I mean, like funny thing, right? Is I can give you. I was explaining my wife. So when COVID started, I started giving myself haircuts, and I bought a little industrial strength hair trimmer.
Okay.
and not the battery powered, the electric one.
Yeah.
And then I said to my wife, if I give myself 20 haircuts, this cost will recover. Uh, luckily, I have given myself way more than 20 haircuts. But today morning, I was actually
Have
thinking.
family members running away from you, fearing you'll suddenly want to increase the ROI on the hair.
So what I have
It is
started,
actually-
and I started thinking is that that was not a good metric. But what outcome it gave Dinker is that now I can actually go give myself a little bit of trim quickly, and I have this because I have realized that typically my duration of between two haircuts is about 3 to 4 weeks.
Hmm.
And in the first week, I look over trimmed, and in the last week, I used to look. I need to get a haircut. So
Yeah.
there is that middle 2 week window, right, where I'm actually optimal hair length. So now I can actually stay there for longer duration because I have a trimmer. The relevance of this thing is that you need to identify rather than just like immediate benefit. What
Hmm.
are, I think this would be the second order benefit, Dinker, is that the first order benefit would be is I get a haircut. But the second order is I can look better. I mean, like whatever I can make better of myself.
Whatever that means for you.
Yes, for longer duration and whenever I want.
Yeah.
So I think that type of thing you need to bring. Why am I doing this? What is the necessary thing for me? And when you start thinking about outcomes, it also starts giving you perspective about whether it is relevant. I mean, like I started dropping some goals, which
Hmm.
where I realized the fallacy of them. I
Hmm.
was actually adding them because they were okay to, I mean, like to hear about them, think about them, but they were not relevant for the larger picture of my life. And one such goal is that walk certain number of steps every day. That's such a stupid goal, right? Is that and most of the apps do have that.
Yeah.
What you need to do is that you need to figure out, I mean, like your fitness goals and keep working towards it. It will automatically happen through the exercises. So
You're right. I think one of the things, Sachin, you and me have been working on are metrics. And I think it's high time we do a conversation around metrics. Maybe that's a subject for an upcoming
we
podcast.
should actually talk about two things, Dinkar, if we are talking, and we should have separate things. One is actually the metrics in a professional setting. I mean, like we can talk about a project, we can talk about an engagement, but we should also talk about the reason why this doesn't work.
Yeah.
And I can tell you that anytime you measure, there are certain risks you are taking as a leader who is proposing a measurement.
Hmm.
It is a scale I am defining for myself to the public,
Yeah.
and
Interesting.
I think it has a far deeper impact, not only to people who want to achieve and demonstrate something, but also to organizations which have been built upon little bit of trickery around budgets.
Yeah.
And I think we can talk about what are the broad strokes where these metrics are designed in such a way that they are bound to be failed.
Hmm.
And I think those two, I mean, like we can talk about good metrics first, and then or in my mind, I mean, I would not say good metrics, but I would say the right way to measure something in your engagement project or delivery. And then there will be like why, even though it is possible, it may not work for you.
Sure. Yeah. Good. Thanks, Sachin. This was a very interesting conversation. See you next
Absolutely.
time.
Always a pleasure. Thank you, Dinker.
Bye.
Take care, man.